My wife refuses to be intimate with me, and she won't tell me why. This was very eye-opening because it gave me a glimpse of how I'm really taken for granted and how her level of comfort and convenience at my expense is really overlooked. Pushed through anyways, and basically told her that this is the new dynamic she asked for and that it's still a bargain because she would have to be 100% if it was on her own. I've noticed that she's making more time for herself aside from being a mom, which is huge because she pretty much neglected herself for years. I'm very pleased seeing her be more herself. My hope is that as we work on ourselves, the marriage improves. There really is no telling at this point where this will go. We are very much cordial and amicable, even to this day, and that's a very good sign. Boundaries are set and expectations are very clear, and I feel that no matter the outcome, I will be at peace with everything that has been done. We're still going to continue the couples therapist until we either rekindle our marriage or end up in divorce. I feel like having this non-biased third party really helps as a witness and as a guide through this. Thank you all for the kind words and recommendations and feedback. This will be my last post on this topic, and I wish you all the best. And there is another update. Update number 2. I debated for a long time on whether to submit an update on this matter. A few significant changes have taken place, and I felt it would be good to not only share with you, but also to allow myself to process all of this in a uniform way. We're almost 9 weeks in on the 180 method I mentioned I was starting, and it started to render some positive reactions from my wife. I explained in the previous posts that she started to notice things that she previously took for granted, started to ask more about my whereabouts, and also started to notice that I would go out with the kids more often without her, and she started to invite herself, which I didn't decline. So much has changed, and it has changed for what seems to be for the better. This past Memorial Day weekend, my wife asked me if I wanted to go out for coffee because she wanted to talk to me about something. This was huge because I can't recall when the last time my wife asked to talk to me about something important. I must admit, I was very nervous and worried about what this could be about, and my mind was racing with the plethora of scenarios of what it could possibly be. Of course, I agreed, and we took some time away from the kids to have this conversation at a local coffee shop. The talk was very constructive in nature. There was a ton of insightful information about herself that helped me further understand where she is in life, both emotionally and mentally. We summarized what the core issues we are encountering are, and she asked me for help. This is new, and I cannot tell you how excited I was hearing something so sincere coming from my wife, who for the last 2+ years has been absent. So after she was through sharing all her thoughts, I proposed a plan that I felt was right for us. This is something that I had been thinking about these last few weeks, and I was planning on bringing this up in a few months if I noticed that things were not changing for the better. This date felt like the right place to share it since it goes hand in hand with what she talked about, and it also relates to the help that she was asking me for. I started by first acknowledging her feelings and concerns. I told her that they are valid and how she feels is personal to her, and that I care that she feels this way because I don't like the thought of her being sad or depressed. I also told her that my goal still is and will always be for us to reconcile and be the happily ever after we vowed to be for each other, and that my love for her is as strong, if not stronger, as it was the day we said I do. I continue the conversation by telling her how I felt about the whole situation, read my previous posts for details, and how it affects me every day. I also clarified some things that she mentioned as she was feeling because how I've been very distant and monotone, which transactional lately. I explained to her that I was very much trying to protect my feelings and emotions from the rejection and neglect, that it wasn't personal, and that it was simply me safeguarding myself because I cannot control her, I can only control myself. This was a perfect segue to the core of this approach, which is focused on self-accountability. I told her that for the longest time I was always working hard to make her happy and do things that I knew she enjoyed or wanted. However, I was always met with rejection and disappointment, which caused a load of stress on me. I explained to her that I had to make a change for myself. After all, I can only control myself and make the changes that I want for myself. I mentioned how I was starting to implement new habits and routines that will help edify me, all while still executing all of our shared responsibilities, including parenting, finances, and daily living activities. I explained that the goal is to continue to improve myself both as a husband and a father, learn more, and be healthier, amongst other things. She was very receptive to this. She told me that she sees what I'm doing and that she is proud of the changes she has seen. She also told me that she's starting to realize that she feels left behind and that much of the things that have affected her negatively are her own fault. Towards the end of the conversation, which was about 3 hours, there was a very high spirit of reconciliation in the room. I told her that my goal is to ultimately make this work. However, I was very clear that I was not going to live under the current circumstances. I told her that my heart wants her to be happy, even if it means elsewhere, and that I also deserve to be my happy self. I also explained that I do not want our children to grow up thinking that this was okay or normal because they deserve better as well. She told me that she doesn't either. She told me she doesn't know what to do, to which I replied, let's set some clear goals. However, the goals will be for ourselves, not for each other. So here's what we established. We are in charge of our own happiness. The key here is that she's not responsible for making me happy and vice versa. We both need to seek what that personal plan looks like individually. Also, we're both encouraged to include each other in taking those steps if we want, but it's not required. We are in control of our own individual lives and our own journey. This means that we're both responsible in finding the resources necessary to grow, change, and heal. We can definitely help one another when help is requested. However, unsolicited advice or help will not be rendered. We are responsible for communicating. This ensures nothing is left unsaid. If it was never brought up or discussed, it never happened. We are not mind readers, and we need to take ownership when we fail to communicate. Make a list of needs and wants. This gives us both clear direction about meeting each other's needs. This also gives us a choice as to what we want or choose to do, compromise on, or decline to do. This list also will not serve as a checklist for accountability. We made it clear that we would not be bringing this list up for the purpose of arguing, and it was up to the other person to use the list as a tool for growth, transparency, or clarification. We concluded that it was up to us to decide if we will be happy doing these things for ourselves because we care, not to simply check a box. This was very important in order to establish long-term habits and not short-term band-aids, because you cannot make someone change or do something that they do not believe is important. We will also establish a deadline, Memorial Day 2025. Whoa. At the end of the conversation, we concluded by setting Memorial Day 2025 as a hard stop to evaluate our lives and our progress. We agreed that we would do this with the clear understanding that we will independently decide if we are happy here. If we determined we aren't happy, we will be getting a divorce. We would also both assume full responsibility for what happened should we get divorced. For example, if needs were not met, it would mean my partner chose not to meet them. This places full responsibility on each other in all areas. The whole process requires that if needs were not met, the next question should be, did we do everything to address this issue? If yes, then we will have a clear conscience of what transpired and know that we left no stone unturned. If, however, we didn't do everything to address the issue, it will mean the issue was not important enough for you or didn't care to meet those needs. This goes both ways in all areas, like everything else. We established that the main motivator for change should be ourselves, and that if we did that, we would in turn begin to see beneficial changes towards each other. The goal is to ensure that everything we are doing for one another to meet each other's needs is being done because we want to do it for our spouse, not because he or she asked. Instead, it was done because I know it makes him or her happy, and I love seeing them happy. I felt it was important to mention to her that we are no longer required to do anything for each other. It is now more of a I want to do these things for each other. Ultimately, I felt the conversation was very positive and productive. Many tears were shed and lots of hugging ensued. I know this doesn't mean or guarantee anything. However, this has never happened before, and I can honestly attribute it to the 180 method. I cannot give any more insight on this method other than it's the only thing that I did different and something new happened for what seems to be the better. I've decided I will conclude and will refrain from this method moving forward as the plan now has changed. I'm planning to devote myself entirely to not only myself and my growth, but to also work on her needs and wants because I want her to be happy by my side. She said and agreed that she would do the same for herself. We agreed that we would help and build each other wherever we request for it, and that we will be approaching this as a team. So, as of today, some of the biggest changes I have noticed are her commitment to therapy and mental health. She is taking some antidepressants that are helping her. She is also more confident and in a far better mood more frequently. We have started to explore more ways of intimacy in multiple areas, such as physical touch and words of affirmation. Spicy sleep is starting to make an appearance, which is exciting. Side note, spicy sleep was very, very awkward to start when you've been absent for so long. I can imagine. We've also started to work out together, which is great, and have lost weight, which is also very exciting. Overall, communication has improved, and I cannot wait to see where this leads. I hope this helps someone out there. I'm still very much interested in your feedback and thoughts on this. You all have been a huge help in giving me hope and insight in this tough journey. Trolls aside, many of you have really been instrumental in my journey, both emotionally and mentally. I will not be providing any more updates until Memorial Day next year. I think it's now time to keep focusing on myself and start working on all the new opportunities that hopefully will arise with my wife. I wish you all the best in your life and your relationships with those you love.